What is up? Sorry, I started just a few minutes late. We'll do a sound check, make sure everyone can hear me. How's everyone? 2 minutes late. We'll do a sound check. All right. So, what prompted me to do this live stream? I was watching that Court TV special. I don't know if it was a special. It had Vinny Investigates. All right, thanks, Jinx. And it had Barbara McDonald on there and Bob. They were just being so dishonest. It just, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't take it, I guess. Hello, hello. So yeah, we'll do some questions. This won't be too long. Probably hang on for an hour, but we'll go through a few different things, and I'll definitely debunk a few things that they were saying. I don't know if anyone caught that, but I was just, yeah, they're not honest at all. It's usually like what is it, Jerry Springer, but on Zoom. That's kind of how it is. They're being very dishonest. Barbara McDonald, she seems very much wanting to make sure that everyone knows that Rick Allen is innocent in her mind. That way she could continue with her Ron Logan did it nonsense. I guess, I don't know. She's never going to put that book out because I think the ship has sailed. Yeah, go back to the beginning of my stripping. I kind of want to start off with the Inquisitor put out a short 4-minute video yesterday. Yeah, Bob Monazacut. Yeah, for sure. For you, Gibbo, you know it. So let's start off with this. If you didn't get to see it yet, I will make sure to put it in the chat, or if Jinx could share it, that'd be great. Hi, everyone. Yeah, Barbara did terrible. Very dishonest, pushing her narrative. All right, let's check out this video.
Rick Allen's defense claimed in a motion filing that Libby's phone was not wet and did not have any debris on it. But in the 3 photos released by the state in a response, they clearly show the phone had dampness and debris over it. Libby's phone was covered in debris.
So the Inquisitor, I think he might even show up in chat today. That'd be nice if he does. But I guess videos, he has so much information jam-packed in a short amount of time. And for those wondering, no, we are not the same person. But he is someone that I talk to about true crime, and we've talked just about every day for the last 3 years, I would say, before Rick Allen. And so, yeah, he's someone super smart guy, someone we run ideas past each other, and we'll challenge our own thinking in front of each other and just try and get to the truth. So he does a great job, and he didn't ask me to do this. He probably is annoyed that I'm even talking about him, but just wanted to say that he does a good job, and I want to make sure that his work gets noticed. So there's a lot of good things that are in this short little video. So yeah, what he was talking about with the phones was, remember, it's still such a ridiculous thing how the defense was claiming that it was perfectly normal for the phone to register that the headphones were being plugged in, which makes no sense and doesn't even show that Rick Allen is innocent, whether someone came in and plugged in headphones or not. So when it was brought up about, well, yeah, it gets false readings, cell phones do, when there is some humidity or debris that gets in the way, their reaction was, or response was, that, well, Libby's phone was fine. There was no debris. There was no moisture in the air. That's not the reason. But then when the actual evidence photos come out, you could clearly see that the phone has all this moisture inside of it. And then he's talking about, because that's her phone. Yeah, it looks almost a different color in certain sunlight, but it's just because the lighting is different. And that's really all it is.
And the lighting with the sun gives the illusion the color of the phone case is more purple. So dirt along with the sun gives the illusion that the color is more purple than red or maroon. The video recording from the Hoosier Harvestor camera was 54 minutes off, which, with old cameras, when they lose power, people just don't change and update the time. This vehicle is clearly Richard Allen's 2016 Ford Focus. What are the chances, that he drove a similar or the same vehicle as the one on the camera footage and happens to admit he was there that day? It's obviously him, okay? It's not some random Joe who just happened to be driving the same looking car as Allen.
Now, so I talked to him, and there's the picture of his car at the CVS. Let me show this real quick. Right. So it's hard to say with 100% certainty that this is Rick Allen's car. However, it's fairly likely it is, because this is from a satellite view of the CVS that Rick Allen worked at. And it looks just like his car. It's parked backwards. Um, and then someone might be able to get a better image of this, but I don't know if you remember. I think it was when Barbara McDonald was on HLN. She did it was so October 13th, 2022, when they did the search warrant. They had some images of Rick's car up on this tow truck here being towed away. So you could tell it's the same car. I have a little more clear picture that was sent to me from this, but we're not going to put that one out yet. But I could say with certainty that the CVS car is Rick Allen's, and it matches the one that's getting pulled away from his house. You can see the lights are the same, and I have a clearer one that I'll put out eventually. And you can tell it's the same shape. This is the car that was on the Hoosier Harvestor footage. And yeah, it seems like the timing on everything is always off, and that's actually very common. So if you remember the Ron Logan, when he went to the dump, the transfer station, that is off. That time is off. The time is off even on the defense, where they said, "Oh, this was Brad Weber, the real time that he was there." Well, that was off by at least 12 hours, according to them. And just what happens is, when people have security cameras, when the battery dies or time change things happen, they don't automatically update them or go back in and manually put in the new updated time if the power went down and now the time will be off. They just kind of leave it. So that's why we get all these sporadic times. But what they're able to do is to verify other things, circumstances that are going on around the area, using people's phone data, looking at what times other people were there. So this is Rick Allen driving to the CPS building at about 1:27, 1:28. He's not driving home. He's driving to the CPS building to park. We'll get into that. Let's continue the video.
Clearly show the phone color of the phone case is more purple. Your Harvestor camera was 54 minutes off, which, with old cameras, when they lose power, people just don't change and update the time. This vehicle is clearly Richard Allen's 2016 Ford Focus. What are the chances, that he drove a similar or the same vehicle as the one on the camera footage and happens to admit he was there that day? It's obviously him, okay? It's not some random Joe who just happened to be driving the same looking car as Allen. Rick Allen made searches on his Fujaka Zero Gmail account from May 2020 onwards until October 2022, sometime before his arrest. It is somewhat interesting but not overly suspicious that he was looking up Delphi murders updates in August 2022 and searched up kidnapping movies Man Held Hostage by Teen, the movie Stalker, 2012, and the movie The Killing of a Sacred Deer in October 2022. In the interview where he spoke to his wife, Kathy Allen said that Richard Allen never told her that he was on the bridge. He claimed he told the police he went out to the first trestle. This is pretty damning and makes him look very guilty, in my opinion, and shows that he is a liar and a manipulator. Richard Allen sounded coherent in the Westville prison phone calls with his wife and mom when he was trying to persevere almost in his attempts, when he was telling them he did commit the crime. Did Richard Allen use a shack in the crime? No, according to what was brought up at the trial, but maybe at one point investigators had a theory that perhaps a shack like he described in a police interview could have possibly been used. I also don't think a height analysis expert would be able to pinpoint precisely to the inch in a clear analysis of what the bridge guy's height was accurately. So I don't think it's a huge deal breaker that the investigators did not get an expert in to attempt to figure that out. Allen was convicted by 12 jurors. He admitted numerous times he killed Libby and Abby. He matches the description of the man in the video. Witnesses identified seeing the man in Libby's video. The metadata from Libby's video recording is accurate with the time of 2:13 p.m. The car matches his car from the Hoosier Harvest Store footage. He admits to being at the bridge, and he lied to his wife about being on the bridge. The bullet matches the gun, which I didn't think would matter at the trial anyway, because I thought it was just good for the PCA. But many believe bullet striation marking evidence is junk science. I don't think they needed it by the time the trial occurred. You can scrutinize the poor investigation for eternity and nitpick and try to poke holes in the investigation, but I don't think any of the discrepancies or mistakes the investigators made really negates the overwhelming evidence against Richard Allen, and Richard Allen was his own worst enemy in the end. And now he's going to rot in prison for the rest of his sad existence, and his appeal will likely be denied.
All right, so that was Inquisitor True Crime. He might be joining us in chat. And see, it's comments like this: better be more than those coerced confessions. And that's when, when people watch Barbara McDonald, they see on court TV and they start to think things like that, because that's what she was saying on court TV the other night. So let's talk about that. But before we get to that, I do want to show something. So something I realized or thought about going through some old stuff was about was it Richie Davis? Right. So he wrote the letters, and Andy Baldwin made a filing to say that Nick McClellan and the state of Indiana did not take these things serious. The letters that he wrote, which was odd, because in one of the letters that Ricky Davis wrote, these confession letters that he wrote to, I guess, Andrew Baldwin into the state, that he says, I'm told they all had their hands in this murder. So he's talking about Richard Allen, Kagan Klein, and Ron Logan. So he's implicating Andy Baldwin's client, Richard Allen, in this statement. I hope that we could speak, because although Logan has passed away, the other two need to face the consequences. So Ricky Davis is right. He wrote these letters. Andrew Baldwin put them out. And what Ricky Davis, he's this con man, this meth head who's in prison, and saying that everyone and their mom has confessed to him. So it's all hearsay. There's no evidence that anyone confessed to him. There's no evidence that he spoke to any of these people. He's just saying things. So he said that all three of them are connected, including Rick Allen, and that Rick Allen had something to do with the murders. So I thought this was interesting why Andrew Baldwin would make such a big deal out of this, because going back to the infamous 136-page Franks memorandum, it was written by the defense. On page 129, for those who have it, right, whoever wrote this, Rosie and Baldwin, they're making the case. They're using Jerry Holman's words to make the case that there's no evidence that Richard Allen is or was connected to any other suspects in the case. So in September 2023, they say right here, there is no connection to any other suspects in the case. Thing like, see, Rick Allen is innocent. Well, but then now they're saying he is connected with Ron Logan and Kagan Klein, I guess. So you can't have it both ways. So they contradict themselves with their filings as normal. But when you have a guilty client and you're trying to do whatever you can, that's what happens. So I thought that was interesting. Just finding another contradiction by the defense. Right. And law enforcement does say that there's no connection between Rick Allen. So that seems to be true. Right? There is no connection between Rick Allen and any other person. He's a lone wolf. That's what the evidence shows. So now the psychosis part and the right, we'll go back to, Sylvie confused how does a middle-aged man just suddenly decide to go out and kill two girls? Highly unusual. It's actually highly unusual for anyone to go out and murder anyone or murder two girls. So this case is highly unusual. And it wasn't because of coerced confession. So psychosis, medically and psychologically defined, involves severe breaks from reality, hallucinations, delusions, incoherent speech, and disorganized thinking. So people who are experiencing genuine psychotic episodes typically produce erratic, nonsensical statements. Unlike Rick Allen, they don't produce non-detailed, consistent, coherent confessions where they're telling a story of what happened and it's all logical and makes sense. Right. So think about the person who's rubbing feces on himself and how that person would be talking. And then you go listen to the phone conversations and confessions that he has. I mean, he does not sound like he's in psychosis. And there was a lot of talk that he was faking psychosis, right? People didn't all believe it. We'll get into that. We're debunking this here. So what Barbara McDonald said on Court TV the other night was basically the only reason why Rick Allen confessed is because he was in psychosis and because of the poor jail conditions or prison conditions. But if that happened, then how come everyone who's not put into a isolated cell, she calls it solitary confinement, how come they don't confess? How come we don't have all these confessions from all these people every time they get put into that prison, into an isolated area? Right? They don't, because that does not trigger you to confess, especially to things only the killer would know. How would being put in a poor prison condition make you all of a sudden psychic, right? Excuse me. So Barb made me think of something I did in another video, but just to show it once again. Right, so here's the timeline of some of his confessions. Not all of them, there's over 60, but here's some meat and potatoes of it. But what I want you to notice here in red, this is the time when the psychiatrist, Dr. Martin, said Rick Allen's psychosis peaked from about a week before. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that Rick Allen was not faking his confessions, that they were true psychotic episodes that he was having. So if we take out any confessions that happened during that time when he started them, and up until when the doctor said there's no signs of psychosis anymore, where he's absolutely fine. All right, let's remove anything there, any confessions there. But before we even got there, we had Rick saying when Jerry Holman first went to search his house with the search warrant, why bother? It's all over, is a statement Rick Allen made. But March 5th, excuse me, 2023, before there are any signs of any psychosis, remember we had him say, in court, said, I'm ready to officially confess for killing Abby and Libby. That was in a letter to a Warren. So was Rick in psychosis? And no. When Rick said, I did it, I killed Abby and Libby. Right? This is not my opinion. This is what the psychiatrist said, that he was not in psychosis there. Allen confessed to killing the girls and expressed a desire to apologize to their families. That's what he told a correction officer, not an Odinist prison guard. Right? So he did those things before there was any signs of a psychotic break. And then what happened was, remember, the defense received evidence of what they had on Rick. And I think that's what made the lawyers, right? They went down there, they took pictures of him looking discombobulated and skinny And so they came with this plan of attack because they know he was already confessing. So they had to say that, oh, it was the Odinist guards or the prison conditions, right? They're throwing everything at the wall. But this doesn't happen. We would have a whole bunch of people confessing if was an automatic thing. So, right after he was already cleared of psychosis, he confesses. You could listen on Tom Webster's channel, did a great job on those, transcribing them. But May 3rd, Rick Allen confessed with details only the killer would know. That's when he told Dr. Wall about the van interrupting him. But you could tell him that story. I don't think that report has been released yet. I mean, I could just talk to Dr. Walla. We're best friends, just kidding. Never spoken to that person before, but I got to troll the trolls. Then May 10th, Rick to Kathy, I need you to know that I did this. I hope you still love me. So this stuff he was not in psychosis. So it's dishonest when you hear Barb or anyone say that, oh, well, yeah, it was a prison conditions. No, then how come everyone's not confessing? They're in the same prison conditions. And he even just kind of put a stamp on that when he was in the Wabash, was a correctional facility after he got moved from Westville, right? They gave him the better conditions. And February 4th, 2024, he says, I'm sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for killing those girls. He made that statement in Wabash prison. So this proves that it's not the conditions that are making him confess. It is his guilty conscience and wanting to get right with God. He did that in March 2023. So that is what is going on there. All right, I'll check out chat, and I did thanks to Jason. He said I should add Cheyenne on here, and I know she was with her friend on this timeline because they did show up. I found they showed up about 2:50, but I think a good reason for putting her and her friend when they showed up, but it was Cheyenne showed up first because they're the ones at 2:50 who actually saw Dave McCain. They saw him with a camera at around 3, so they kind of, along with Dave McCain's camera, them taking pictures and them having the SIM card and timestamps, Cheyenne could confirm that Dave McCain is not bridge guy because she saw him shortly after 2:50 on the bridge taking pictures. But this timeline, what it shows really is that Rick Allen was the only male on the trail system or on the bridge from about at least 2 p.m. until roughly 2:30. So the bridge guy video was at 2:13. Rick Allen was the only person there. We'll get into a little bit more of that, but just wanted to clarify that. Okay. Yeah, sure you do. Yeah, I'm not real. We'll see. I don't know. For sure. Right. Yeah, he had a long time to think about it. Yeah, the meds made him do it, and that's not true either. Meds don't make people confess. Just gonna catch up on chat. Right. Exactly. Trial junkie. What's up, Ruckus? Hope you're doing well. All right. Human animal listening in. Cool. I'll get back to him. Yeah, I'm glad Gray goes on there and at least gives some sense of reasonable thought and stands up against all those crazies. But they like having the crazies on more, apparently. So yeah, Rick Allen, when he was interviewed first by Dan Doolin, right, he admitted to being on the bridge. But then on October 13th, 2022, when Richard Allen was interviewed again, he again stated that he saw juvenile girls on the trails east of Freedom Bridge and that he went onto the Monon High Bridge. Richard Allen further stated he went out onto the Monon High Bridge to watch the fish. Later in his statement, he said he walked out to the first platform on the bridge. He stated he then walked back, sat on a bench on the trail and then left. And he almost said he caught himself in that interrogation. He said, "Yeah, and I went almost like he was going to say down the hill." He's like, "And I went down to I went on the bench." You have to catch that one. He stated he parked his car on the side of an old building. Told investigators that he was wearing blue jeans and a blue or black Carhartt jacket with a hood. He advised he may have been wearing some type of head covering as well. He further claimed he saw no one else except for the juvenile girls he saw east of Freedom Bridge. Told investigators that he owns firearms. They're at his home. So, I mean, this guy on the bridge is wearing exactly what Richard Allen is wearing. And he was there the exact time Richard Allen was there. I still hear people say that, no one said bridge guy is short. Well, yeah, this is Doug Rice saying he's quoting one of the juvenile witnesses. He was speaking to their mom. Said he was able to deduce that bridge guy is likely in his 40s or 50s. People say, well, how come no one knew how he looked? Why didn't they recognize him? I mean, so the person did. I mean, he does look like Jimmy Duvall. Problem is he was wearing a mask, and the witness who made the statement, she said he was wearing a mask covering his face and also wearing multiple jackets. So it's unclear on how big he was. When you're wearing a hat and a hood on top of it, it's hard to tell how tall you are. We don't know how thick his boots were necessarily. So the height and eyewitness testimony, just in general, is very horrible. But they all know that they are that who they saw was Bridge Guy. All the witnesses, all 5 of these witnesses, they all saw Bridge Guy. So Betsy Blair was far away when she saw Bridge Guy, so she's not going to just go to CVS and be like, "Hey, that's the guy who I saw." And the girls, the juveniles who passed him, well, they said he was wearing a face covering and kept his head down. And he was basically in disguise. The other person who saw him, Sarah Carbaugh, she passed him. She was driving a car. She gave the sketch of him, but yeah, it's hard to say, especially how much he changed his appearance. And plus, if he wasn't working the counter register all the time and he's kind of supervisor, they don't interact with people as much as one might think. All right, so some quick things, evidence for those who don't think there is any evidence or want some reminders to help talk to someone who doesn't think there's any evidence against Rick Allen. There's definitely the witness sightings, and I thought this is interesting. Right, Rick Allen, he admitted to seeing a small group of juvenile girls. So he admitted to seeing them, but those girls didn't admit to seeing CVS Rick Allen. They never saw Rick Allen. Right? They saw Bridge Guy though. So it's like, put it together, right? They saw Bridge Guy. Everyone saw Bridge Guy. All the witnesses saw Bridge Guy. No one says Rick Allen, the guy from CVS, was there. How come no one recognized him? Because he was in disguise. He was dressed like Bridge Guy. His car was caught on camera. It's showing the time that he was arriving. Shows that he was lying. That when he did say change his timeline from 12 to 1:30, that why are you just arriving at CPS at 1:27? He wasn't leaving. He wasn't driving towards his house. There's a gun cartridge that matches his gun. Yeah, he lied about his alibi. He lied to his wife about being on the bridge that day. And we learned that in the confessions and interrogations. Right. And he didn't have an alibi. He didn't show that he was anywhere else doing anything else. Yeah, and he confessed. So people say, well, there's no witnesses that place Richard Allen there. He places himself there. He technically becomes a witness the second he says that he was there and he killed the girls. He's now a witness. Is the best witness you could have, the person responsible for the crime. So yeah, there's a witness. It's Rick Allen. Rick knew things only the killer would know. He knew about that white van, whether it came at between 2:20 or 2:40. Rick Allen was there until almost 3:50, and he was there with the girls from about 2:13 until around 3:30. So it's whether the van passed after they crossed the creek or before it crossed the creek, it really doesn't matter. The fact that he knows that in that small time window that a white van passed, yeah, only the killer would know. You'd have to be where he was to see that van passing that private driveway. Yeah, and I always forget about this, but how he changed his height on the fishing license and he got rid of his cell phone. So these are just things that make him look really bad, some evidence against him, and it just keeps stacking up. So you'll hear people try and make up all these things to act like Rick Allen is innocent for whatever reason because it's a wrong POI. But the reality is it was a tragic but simple crime that one person committed. He used a bridge like it was a trap. And so he took his wife's car that morning, meaning I don't know what time she starts work, let's say 8 o'clock. So he was thinking he had this plan by 7 a.m. And everything I understand, the girls didn't actually make a decision. They're going to the bridge till around 1 p.m., something later that day. So he was already planning this. He took his wife to work, drove her car to his parents, came back, went to his house, changed, went committed the murders. So just want to do a quick live stream. Got to get back to work. Just want to share some evidence, keep it short and sweet. If you have any questions, leave comments. And yeah, I'm going to start doing some members only live sessions soon. I think people asked me about like what happened with me in the murder sheet and all that stuff. So I'll do that on a private live for members only. So if you haven't become a member, want more content, please become a member, and I'll do a members only live stream soon. All right. Thanks everyone.